Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and thank you guys for coming so bright and early. As you said, it is bright and early, and I'm sure Tim is busy and others. But that said, thank you for being here. Let's kick off with our pledge of allegiance, if y'all will, please. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I feel like every time I do that, we yell out "play ball," so like sports. But in any case, all right. So that said, let's do a quick. Barber here. Steve Bobowski here. Barb here.
Here.
We got Aaron here. Okay, and then we don't have Tim. We don't have James. We got a quorum. Good to go. All right. Citizen comment period. All citizens, please speak your piece. That said, I
know the
yeah, that's right. We have no citizen comment. We'll go from there. Minutes from our last meeting, from our July 28th meeting. Any comment?
I second.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Nay? Okay. Approved. Okay. First on our list is the Jack Special Use Permit. Did the folks, did anybody have a chance?
We'll probably have to move that back on the agenda.
Okay.
Regulo Montevilla is not here this moment.
Okay.
This moment.
Okay.
But he will be.
If you have a chance, scan it at least, to that standpoint. Yeah, so let's go to 5. Water diversion application. And standing in for Glenn today is, one more time, your name, please.
Tyler Beinlich.
Standing in for Glenn today is, one more time, your name, please.
Tyler Beinlich.
Tyler, thank you.
We got another map here to kind of help. It's got our 2022 aerial images under it, so you can kind of see the Copart. Gives you a little bit better of a spatial, kind of see the Copart. Gives you a little bit better of a spatial idea of where the actual dividing line is.
And you have handouts as well.
Yes.
Tyler, you want one of these so you can refer to it? Or
I got one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Glenn's been obviously a little bit more involved on this than I have. A few months ago, we met with some developers who were looking at potentially developing something around 124th and Oakwood there. And one of the things that's unique about Franklin is that it's a straddling community. So the green line on that Continental Divide. So everything west of there is part of the Mississippi River Basin. Everything east is Great Lakes Basin. So there's special circumstances where the DNR will allow straddling communities like this to apply to be able to draw water from Lake Michigan if you're on the west side of that boundary. The lengthy process, it can take anywhere 6 to 9 months. Costly, obviously, in some regards. So,
When you say straddling community, what exactly does that mean?
So a community that the Subcontinental Divide runs through, so like Franklin. So in the case of like Waukesha and their Retelling County,
okay.
So their application was a lot more detailed, a lot lengthier, costly, everything like that, because there's no actual divide line that runs through Waukesha. It's just in Waukesha County. I think it runs through Berlin.
And the green line is that green line. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And the green line is that green line. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So for instance, under the words Loomis Court there, that white area, that's the Copart facility that was just built. So their property is basically straddling that line too. So they actually have a well on the west side of the line. So they did that. So they actually have a well on the west side of the line. So they did that to avoid having to go through this process. And because they're drawing water from that side, they can discharge it to the east side. No, there's no issue there. So I think the biggest thing. So
explain that again. So on the west side, they can discharge to the east side.
Correct. So they can draw from a well on the west side, and then and then with a smaller facility, I think they just have a bathroom really. So even if in that case it probably wouldn't matter as much if they were trying to get municipal water, but so we process to They also kind of went through the options of using wells in that area west of the subcontinental divide there. So there are 2 aquifers underground that you could tap a well into, but the concern is they're kind of on top of each other, so you don't know is the proximity to the landfills. So the DNR has some maps where they kind of have some radius within that you don't really want to tap a well really by a landfill. So they had some concerns. Obviously, if a development was wanting to tap a well, they'd have to go through the process with DNR. This has some to do with that, but we don't in engineering really deal with that as much. So we met with DNR to go through the process. So Baxter and Woodman is a consultant that is familiar with this. So they did the same thing in Summers down in Kenosha County. They did a water diversion. Theirs was a little bit larger. So what Glenn found out that cost the town, village, for Summers, but it was about $38,000 all in. So Glenn is anticipating, after talking to Baxter and Woodman, that it would cost the city, if we wanted to do this same type of water diversion application, it would be about $30,000 all in. Same type of water diversion application, it would be about $30,000 all in. It is kind of more of a time and materials thing, so depending on how many public hearings and what comes of all that, it could be, a longer time frame, but he doesn't expect the cost to go above $30,000. And so, he doesn't expect the cost to go above $30,000. And so really what that would do is, if the city were to go through that process and get the application, that would allow any development coming in to not have to worry about that. So the group we met with was, I think, looking to put a facility of 124th in Oakwood there that's very similar to Copart. And obviously, some of that is because they don't need a lot of water usage, they wouldn't have to worry about a water diversion application. They could, go to a well because there'd be like a employee bathroom and that'd be it. So I guess the city would like to see, and if this commission would like to see a larger development that would have a bigger water draw, maybe some kind of industrial or whatever fits within the zoning too, obviously, but a more impactful development would obviously probably have to draw from municipal water. So developer wanting to come develop in that area. But if the city had that done already, approved and ready to go, then it would be at that point similar to any other development in the city. The process would be almost the same because we already went through the process.
So the territory we're looking at is basically from the
correct,
really
yeah,
is going to get the benefit of this.
And really, so it would be south of Oakwood Road.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much all landfill. So the chances of that getting developed are close to none.
Okay,
so
yeah.
It's really that corner, 124th and northeast corner.
How firm is the development?
We just had an initial meeting. They weren't even aware of the water diversion stuff. I don't recall. I think Alderman Nelson was there. I think Alderman Nelson was there. I don't know if the mayor was, but it was just kind of a feeler on their end to see if that would fit within what the city wants to see, and we haven't heard anything since, so I'm not sure where that's at. And that was kind of when this was brought up too with them, so they weren't aware of that. So that was kind of when this was brought up too with them, so they weren't aware of that. So that may have kind of slowed them down too. Just
Copart's met with resistance.
Yep. Yeah. So that, I guess that was
similar to that.
That was kind of Glenn's concern too. Is would the city really want another one very similar to that right south of? If we want something more substantial to be developed there, this may be the best route. So.
I'm sorry.
This would allow for better kind of
correct. Yeah.
Developer to come in.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And so really there'd be no hand. Right now if someone came in, there's just that. I mean, it's if you're talking right off the bat, 9 months that a developer would have to go through the application process. That probably going to send a few of them away.
Going back to your question, we don't know or we don't have a real legitimate player for this.
I'm not we didn't touch on that too much, but the last one I heard was a facility similar to Copart. That was 4 to 6 weeks.
My understanding is that the $30,000 is the initial study, basically. Is that it?
So it's the reason Summers was over $30,000 is they had Baxter Woodman redo their whole system map for water, and then they had one other thing done. That kind of added to the cost, but Summers was also diverting a larger area. This is a very small area, so when we spoke with some of the DNR people who would work with us in this process, they didn't seem to think it would be as lengthy as that one or as as intensive. So yeah, the initial talks from Baxter Woodman and Glenn, they both felt pretty comfortable that it was going to be 30,000. Talks from Baxter Woodman and Glenn, they both felt pretty comfortable that it was going to be 30,000 or less.
Would there be any additional infrastructure costs to the city?
Uh,
Let's say if the $30,000.
Not necessarily. So I guess that's when so if we were to go through the process and it were to get approved, it would essentially be like any other development then. So if a developer, it would essentially be like any other development then. So if a developer were to develop there, if they needed to extend municipal water, they'd have to do it at their cost. And if it's involved in a TID, I don't know. I mean, I'm not as familiar with that process. So
Was the developer, the initial developer, Bear?
I've gotten, I want to say over winter, Dan Shop with Bear did request info on that property, but that was the last I heard of it from him. But I'm sure, given how much he's been involved in that area, that Bear Development may be interested as well.
So then we've also got return on investment down here. What are your estimates return on investment, Tyler?
Yeah, that one I don't really have a good answer for, unfortunately. And I don't know that Glenn had any number unless he has some listed in here. I guess ultimately that would kind of depend on the user. Yeah.
And supposing the one that came across, I guess it was that John perhaps had any numbers with that. No. Got it. Okay.
So would the mayor not have any people approaching him on this at all?
I have not heard of any other than there was one inquiry, like Tyler said, 4 weeks ago.
Thinking back to
Operation Like Cope.
Thinking back to when Bear had talked to us about that area, they did indicate they had a user that was interested, a large, but they just really wouldn't. They were being very vague. A lot of details. They said a large user.
And that was prior to that.
A lot of details. They said a large user.
And that was prior to that. That was
that was
several months ago.
Yeah, that was probably over winter, I would say.
That's back when slaughterhouses too.
Okay, so yours and Glenn's recommendation is 30?
Yeah, well, so
Well, if it was Bear, would that be part of a TID then at that point, and would that be coverable?
I would think you would have to start
You'd have to start the
another. Well, you might be able to extend for Copart extends next to that.
yeah, and they are working on right now because the Rise development that's going to be coming just east of working on revising that TID, I think.
They're making an addition there. So it could be an expansion, or it could be formation of a new one. It have to be something you have to weigh, model.
Seems to be what's going on in it. That 30,000 might be recoverable.
Sure.
But that'd have to be established.
I was going to say, you have to do that ahead of time. You can't do that after the fact.
Right.
30 back.
Right.
And I guess the key thing to know too with this application is really it's a one-time thing. So
Indicated that they would approve this?
they weren't going to give a definitive answer, but yeah, that when we met with them, we felt pretty comfortable that they didn't see any issues with it, especially because of the proximity to the landfills. I think they had concerns if someone was going to draw a large amount of water from a well. That it's pretty difficult when you're that proximity to know, the quality of the water until you actually start to tap into it. And so I think they had concerns with that. So I think that played in our favor. The other thing Glenn noted on here is that. So I think that played in our favor. The other thing Glenn noted on here is that, the city kind of working with the potential of going to Milwaukee Water Works, I think is at least of the idea that they want to see or know definitively yes or is at least of the idea that they want to see or know definitively yes or no if we're going to go through that process just while we're still in the negotiation phase with them. So that's I guess another, ultimately I think Glenn and we're looking for a recommendation to go through this process. We don't really want to see another similar development to Copart. If we want to see something larger there, then we're probably the best bet to go through this process.
How much developable land is over that?
Sure, if he hasn't noted it, didn't have a lot of time to dig into this.
As I looked at it, I was thinking about 30 acres
Okay.
in that area.
At the square above Oakwood?
At least.
Yeah,
At least.
it would be the area, kind of north of Oakwood, south of Vetco Park.
Right. Well, and then there's
Vetco Park.
right. Well, and then there's that sliver there south of.
Yeah,
I don't know how developable that is.
So that's all one.
Yeah. So,
I think everything south of Oakwood, I think Waste Management owns, but I'm not entirely sure.
That's
And-
correct. You
But
are
the,
correct.
the
Yeah.
off of Oakwood Road, they don't have any actual facilities there.
That's
And-
correct. You
but
are
the,
correct.
The
Yeah.
off of Oakwood Road, they don't have any actual facilities there, so maybe someone were to come in, they
Yeah. So somewhere between 20 and 30. From what I could tell. I mean, you would have to do studies like wetland delineation. There we could at least look at 15 acres, 15 to 20.
What are the steps in the process? Do we
well,
initiate it, start the study?
yeah, so there's the actual exactly how many public hearings there are, but there are several public hearings and that's where Baxter and Woodman, because this is a very unique thing that not many consultants do, and Baxter Woodman has done it for Summers. New Berlin had it done years ago. Well, I'm not sure who performed that for them, but I guess that's one reason we've been experienced on the process. So when we met with them, they seem to think, on the short end, six months, on the long, lengthier term, 9 months for the full process. But it's really, so Baxter Woodman would kind of do a study, and I think we'd have to have an idea of, so that they can do the study to see how much water we would draw. And
So basically, for them to do this, we have possible, in mind, we don't have anybody, right? So the point is kind of getting approval that we can do it when we get some.
I haven't had a ton of time to dig into this
So
prior to.
when we get a prospect.
Right.
I think Glenn was looking for to get it going and get it done before we have a prospect online, because they are gonna, the projected timeline, Tyler,
Yeah,
to get
6
this
to 9
done
months,
is
so.
6 to 9 months.
So,
Timeline, Tyler,
Yeah,
to get
6
this
to 9
done
months,
is
so.
6 to 9 months.
So, when we would get it done, that might line up with someone to come in next year and start the process.
I thought you just said that for Baxter Woodman to do the program, they have to have a potential prospect.
So they could look at potential uses in their
program. They have to have a potential prospect.
So they could look at potential uses in their study. They don't necessarily have to have a specific user, but they would need to, at least we would have to give them a range of users so that they know how much potential water would be drawn. Because obviously, if you're talking a food processing plant
Right.
versus something else, it could be a huge difference of how much water. So
And
they would
so-
incorporate that into their study. So we don't have to have it nailed down to a specific user, but that's one thing that they would be able to do is, we could give them a range of users, what would fit within our zoning or what would fit with what we might want to see there, and they can incorporate it.
But if it changed, we would still have approval?
Yes, yeah.
So we give them, somebody says, hey, we're gonna use a minimum amount of water, and then we bring in somebody who's gonna use a lot, wouldn't affect it.
Yeah, so the way they do it is, I don't recall exactly what the threshold is, but once you apply, consumption of the water before you send it back and treat it. But yeah, from reading through everything in the process, I don't think that they have a specific, hey, that you can only draw this much with your application, and that's that. It's really going through the process because we're a straddling community and because it's a small area. There's really no involvement from other parties who are drawing from the Great Lakes. Like in Waukesha's case, they had to go through the process with Canada and all the other.
So
things.
why would we not have to?
Because we're a straddling community. So when a straddling community has to go through that process,
You can just, you just return.
you only have to go through the state.
Right.
Then in that
Okay.
case, so we only have to go through the DNR because in I think it was 2008 when a lot of this diversions process kicked off, and that's when they came up with the straddling communities, straddling counties, and then obviously large state money coming to draw from it. Being obviously large state money coming to draw from it. But yeah, because we're a straddling community, we would only have to go through the state process.
As an alderman, I don't know if I'd like to see something nebulous as something similar to Coparts here. Yeah, to me, it would be something similar to Coparts here. Yeah, to me, it would be something that I would be definitely, I mean, I'm in favor of going ahead and doing this.
And in that case, if that development were to want to move forward, really, it wouldn't make sense to do this study because they're going to have one well serving employees for a bathroom. That would be it because they probably only have, a handful of employees working there each day. So it, really wouldn't be worthwhile to go through this process because I don't even think a facility like that would necessarily want me. They wouldn't want to have to go through the process of having to extend public infrastructure that far.
I don't know what would be goes, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to see that whole chunk of property be.
That.
Similar could be strictly a junkyard at that point.
Mm-hmm. Which, and I think there is one further south, closer to 124th and County Line.
So you'd also in before, or we would need to get the
We
TID
would-
approved
we would-
before we would do this so they could be part of it, right?
We're doing this ahead of time. Again, to improve what might be a potential use.
I got that. What you had mentioned.
Yeah,
making sure
and
we
it
get
wouldn't
the
be,
TID.
there's nobody.
Included in the district.
What would it take to do that? That we got this covered as part of that, which.
A developer would come in and requested it or bear expand the use of the area of his TID to include this parcel. Then it would possibly,
What does it take for them to do that? Say this and
well, we don't even know. We have nobody at this point. We have a couple inquiries, but there's nothing nothing on down the road that says it's going.
The chicken or egg.
Yeah, no, got it.
And any of those new,
Yeah, no, got it.
and any of those new developments would have to go through all kinds of approvals. Anyway, we're not giving a blank approval.
So I think it's just in hearing the preliminary discussion, but all we're trying to do is prepare this site potential better.
And is it worth 30,000? Not knowing who the prospect might. Now, if somebody said I'm interested in it, by the time they go through all the iterations, stuck in 9, 12, 18 months. So this could be going on concurrently with the anticipation that, yeah, we're going to get approved anyhow. High likelihood of vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would certainly think that it could be done concurrently. Obviously, that would kind of depend on the appetite of the user, but we feel pretty comfortable that
It's going to get approved, right?
Yeah.
And based on your recommendation, too. So, and then and doing currently would that chase away a potential? Well, it's not approved yet, and so they go. Other thoughts, discussion?
I guess I'd be in favor of moving it forward. I think this has to go before council at some point too. So all be moved forward to council.
Before we go to a vote, discussion, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm on the fence on it.
Yeah, and on the fence, what?
Well, it's close to the landfill. I mean, well, it's close to the landfill. I mean, I don't know, but that doesn't seem to be scare many businesses. And if they're on city water, that makes it less risky.
That's it. Tim, I know you came in a little bit late, but
Many businesses. And if they're on city water, that makes it less risky.
That's it. Tim, I know you came in a little bit late, but
I'm in favor of moving it for 30,000. Good investment for a long term. Now, got this done. I mean, well, but that's Christ.
Investment for potential developer.
it certainly takes away an objection
Yes.
and becomes a non-issue, so it doesn't even come up as that. I think you get ready to sell something. Oh, we got these other problems. Even if we say, well, 90%.
Would this include all the land that is on the west side of the green line then at that point, or just a particular area? Once you get that approval, there's a lot of land south of it, or it's
Yeah, I mean, I think we would include everything.
down the
west of
county line.
Yeah. Some of that in those areas where the landfill is, but might just be an area in the application that we don't even have to worry about including because we know the likelihood of anything going there is just not possible. But
John, any comment?
Yeah, I think Glenn's perspective has been that we get this done, and so that way it's one less hurdle to get a prospect located. And so that way it's one less hurdle to get a prospect located. And we were commenting on, it's just one more point of risk. Developers are risk averse, like all other investors. So this would just be one. And we were commenting on, it's just one more point of risk. Developers are risk averse, like all other investors. So this would just be one more risk, not booming. We're looking at developing.
Gotcha. Be conservative. That's from my experience. So he's saying this is not a. So, you guys ready to vote on this? You have a motion?
Move. Second.
And the motion is to recommend to the council.
Yes, it's a recommendation, council, to approve. Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
And motion was
Tim.
Tim? Yeah.
Tim made it nice.
Mike.
Mike second.
okay.
Unanimous. All right. Today is our business appreciation dinner. We have locked up Tracy. Thank you. Nice job. And our
No, we just gotta tell her what she needs to speak on.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so
Well, we've gone over that with her.
Okay.
The event is October 20th at Tuckaway. Thanks, Steve. And she'll be talking about real estate trends in southeast Wisconsin, commercial, and industrial real estate trends, and do why things are going well here, and then wrapping up with why things are so good in Franklin, Wisconsin, why it's such a good place to do business.
Okay.
And that was Steve's suggestion.
Yeah.
Including that. So,
And again, this is appreciation. Let's pitch the fact that we're a great place to do business. This is appreciation. Let's pitch the fact that we're a great place to do business.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Water's deep and we want to go warm, that kind of thing. So that's great. Thank you for getting Tracy. Thank you for working with her. And I'm sure we'll touch base before.
Who is Tracy and
She with her. And I'm sure we'll touch base before.
who is Tracy and
She's president of the Commercial Real Estate Association of Wisconsin.
oh,
So, and I'm on the for the
thank you.
yeah, she's in
She's gonna tell us.
Well, and that, yeah, to that standpoint, I think she's great. And she's a very good presenter. So she'll do a nice job. Okay, so insofar as the awards, and I pulled this out from when we did it, routine.
I have a question before we move on. For some reason, I had October 27th.
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
we initially started with that.
Okay, so it's now moved to the 20th. Okay,
Rockaway was no.
I see. Thanks.
okay, so here were, if you will, what we did in 2019 as well as the criteria. I think it's probably worth taking a second to take a look at, to open it up to the inside. By the way, thank you. Which is, so we have the Franklin Excellence in Business, small and large, couple criteria. Thank you. Which is, so we have the Franklin Excellence in Business, small and large, couple criteria. They had to be in Franklin. Franklin Excellence in Innovation, and then our Leader of the Year. Okay, criteria: commitment to good business practices, a history of good employee relations, benefits, customer-focused commitment, financial growth and community service involvement, education partnerships, and workforce development. So that was some of the key criteria as it related to the overall. Now we got down into the small. We had Anderson, we had Innovative, Suburban Symphony, and in the small that year was Innovative Fitness. Large business, we had Carlisle, Payne and Dolan, Quad, Strauss, Vesta, and I believe it was Carlisle. And again, the same criteria for those organizations and people who bring new ideas, and big or small, and that one was the Rock. Leadership Business Leader of the Year Award, and that one was Goodall from
Alice Roll.
Community Service, Trades, Team Player, Professional Achievements. That was the overall program. And if you will, we have listed Mayor's Choice Award of Beautification, and those got taken off. So now,
Okay, so,
they were on, but then we ended up not doing them.
all right, that answers the question, because we needed to make a decision if they were still on it, so I'll take those.
Well, don't take them off yet. I mean, I threw it out there saying, hey, look, if you guys said, well, that's interesting. Beautification, and I do believe we had a number. Well, that's interesting. Beautification, and I do believe we had a number of companies, and then taking that. And then Mayor's Choice was just really kind of one that the mayor said, they've done something special. For his criteria, it was kind of a recognition. For his criteria, it was kind of a recognition. You take him off. Does the mayor have an opinion on that? Say he didn't want to do that?
I don't know. I can ask him. The other thing is...
He didn't want to do it that year, by the way, which is why we took it off. And his reason was, well, perhaps, well, how did you judge that? And it became one of those. The plus is, sometimes people don't fall into a category, and yet they still did a lot for our community. That was the plus on it. The minus was, he said, well, then, stones, say, how'd you pick them? she or he wanted to be part of. So,
The other category I think we wanted to recognize, and not necessarily do an award for, was new businesses. I know some people have that in this listing, but you know, you can decide. We should decide today whether or not. We do an award for it, but our discussion. But
well, okay, so let's open it up for discussion on that. My recommendation is, to take off the mayor's choice and beautification and perhaps add the new business. Is there some other location did something, or they just did something interesting? I don't know. It's open for discussion.
Call it the thank you award.
We could call it anything you want, but I don't know what that would
I
be.
think we call it new business recognition.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Companies that start.
Thank you for the Franklin.
Well, I mean, again, call it what it is. It's a new business.
Yeah.
Okay. And it could be any size. It could be the net. So they'd have to be within the 12 to 18 months.
And the mayor said that they have a record.
Well, that could get a. Well, that could get a letter from this board saying thank you for coming to Franklin, setting up a business, economic development committee. Acknowledge it.
We could do that to everybody. Everybody.
Well, that is done in the Franklin newsletter. All of the new businesses listed in that newsletter, just by name. And it seems to me that if we're going to give an award, it should be for some history of us, rather than you just change your address. At least that was rather than you just change your address. At least that would be my.
Well, I would agree with that, except that there are people that are new that actually get involved right away. But
Do we want to make it an award, or do we want it to be a recognition?
The acknowledgement, recognition.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's not.
So you'd have a list of them. It wouldn't just be like.
We, as the Economic Development Committee, could send that as part of this.
So who's coming in? The big. Now, they wouldn't qualify under large or small yet this year, but on the other hand,
They should, maybe in the future, because they haven't even finished their building yet, I believe.
no, but they
No,
are.
They're just getting started.
They're just getting
But
started.
they still could be recognized in business.
Well, yes, all of the, like I said, but
But
not
that-
an
that-
award.
No, I'm suggesting an award.
I would not.
So
If someone moves into my district,
yeah,
I want to go out, thank you, welcome to Economic Development Committee. Could also be the welcome. Here you go. We haven't done anything like that in the past, but it is economic development.
okay. I guess you had brought the new business as a thought. I'd say, okay, the guy likes the Pluto. Should we recognize them for making the big investment in our for making the big investment in our community?
Not till it opens.
Right.
Well, they still had to buy the land and do all sorts of other things, so that's still a commitment. They could have gone to other locations. That's the thought. And what do you think?
Well, I agree with you in recognizing. I would.
Okay. So then, new business, 12 to 18 months, or they have to be open,
I think they should be open and running.
in which case it's not new. Or is it? How would you define that?
You said last year, maybe
actually
extend it to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're kind of talking about two different things, though. He's talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking award. And so
Okay, so they might fit into one of the other categories next year.
Yeah.
Mhm. But the thought and why you brought up was
Recognizing people that have decided to come here or made a decision to come here and it's been announced. Yeah, we can recognize them in the list of new businesses that have opened up. But if you want something special and outstanding because of their investment or their innovation or their leadership, then you put them in one of the other categories. Their innovation motivation or their leadership, then you put them in one of the other categories.
Once it's open.
Okay, so we don't have any. Okay, so we can send out a letter to everybody, part of the EC, anything. That's different.
No.
That's different.
No.
Okay, so we're down to 4 awards then, right?
Can I ask, one of the criteria that I think it was years, you're only eligible every 3 years? More, or is it 5?
It was
I don't remember it. I don't remember the criteria.
If you win, you
Yeah, you'd only be eligible to win every,
that would,
Crohn's wouldn't be eligible, and then Crohn's wouldn't be eligible, and then because we missed the pandemic, we didn't have a 20, we had a 19.
we did have a number. Like,
What was,
well, we can decide here today. I would recommend the further 5. Now, they can be recommended, they just can't win. That's the issue. They can still be on the recommendation. That was, I know it's, I think every 5 years is plenty enough. And otherwise,
add it to the criteria.
yeah, we should. And I think we had it. I don't know if I just came on. Whatever.
No.
Tim, you good with that?
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Think that 5 years.
Yeah, I like that.
Then, insofar as possible nomination,
so I guess I'm wondering about the process, nomination process, or do we think there's a committee or commission, we can come up with nominees, and we've got a pretty healthy list already for past years for nominees that haven't won. We're coming up on October 20th.
you know.
Time is of the essence, and the commission probably has the wherewithal to make, some nomination, get at least 3 nominees for each category. What we were thinking of. And different. If we take a look at the example that we have, different commissioners took different. If we take a look at the example that we have, different commissioners took different awards.
What is the cutoff between large and small?
10 million.
In sales?
Cutting that call shortly here, so thank you for
Thank you for
Thank you.
allowing us to do this.
Thank you.
Could you let Regulo know he's up
Okay,
in a few minutes?
send him up here?
Yeah.
Sure, okay, yeah. Okay,
In a few minutes.
send him up here?
Yeah.
Sure, okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's for the JAX project.
Okay.
In the past, we had up to 5.
Each category?
Up to. Doesn't mean we ended up with 5.
Yeah.
But we had up to 5.
Yeah.
But we had up to 5. Like, for instance, large we 5. Allow 1. Leadership. We didn't have 5.
Well, we only have one more meeting.
Right.
Right.
Now,
I would say we just get them together by the next meeting, get them into me, try to get them into me within the next.
Yeah.
For the appreciation.
Yeah. We have tried and we sent out an open invitation, got none back.
But I mean,
And I'm saying,
okay.
so I'm saying yes. So,
you know, them with our
yeah.
recommendation.
Yep.
might be a good PR move just to put out that invitation for nominees.
Yeah, you're
Because
right, yeah.
it would just look better for us.
I agree.
And we know we probably won't get any, but
Yeah,
let's just do it.
The invitation.
Probably won't get any, but
yeah.
let's just do it.
The invitation.
Otherwise, it looks like an inside job, which it may be.
Yeah,
We don't have to advertise.
I guess. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good.
So, we did have some assignments before, but I guess, who would like to, tackle, or be responsible for the nomination in the various categories? We assigned,
Well, we necessarily have to assign someone, I mean, we send you our recommendation on category.
that'd be fine.
out of
Yeah.
this,
That would be
and then we
fine.
vote on it once
Mm-hmm.
we get the next one on, right?
No, I think that's right.
That's fine.
That would be good. Okay, that's how we'll do it.
Morning.
Good morning, regular.
Very well.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, good. I apologize. I thought that the meeting was at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I was just thinking that could be.
Good morning.
That could be a situation.
It's
Yeah.
okay, well, you're here real early then.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay, well, you're here real early then.
Okay.
You can go home early.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Anyways, we'll just wrap up with this here in just a minute.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So anything else we need to do on this one, John?
Um,
Do you think?
Yeah, I may have some tasks that I,
Anything else we need to do on this one, John? Do you think?
yeah, I may have some tasks that I need some help with while I'm working the invitations and getting, invitations out. The next step will be, I guess, to send a save the date out to the final invitation list that we get set up, and so I'll have to finalize that and working on some of the sources we've talked about before. And we had a pretty good list from before.
We do.
So
I'd like to add Lux Golf, innovative businesses.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That would,
Send an email.
Sure. Yep. To that standpoint, can we copy everybody on that, John? Or is that against the rules? Well, I mean, they're
the nomination.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
okay, yeah.
I think that's a start. So, oh yeah, oh, what about them? What, to me, seeing,
You don't have duplications. Oh, that makes sense.
yeah. Okay, good. I mean, I do think though. Well, okay, and it also starts. Oh, Tim's already sent his in, and Aaron's got, and oh, gotta get mine in. Just as a way in which we. I'll be around. Okay, got it. Is it possible? And I found it. Okay, got it. Is it possible? And I guess what I would suggest is let's get them to done by Friday next week. Give them a chance to drive around the city, look on all the kinds of lists that might think of, and go from there. Okay. Got it. Okay. Got it. Insofar as just the overall, whatever.
Tracy?
I'm not sure. Over at the Luckaway. It's been a bit of a challenge to get. She's supposed to be sending us kind of stuff. I said just basically duplicate it and send it to us. Okay, and then perhaps we can send that to. I liked what we had last time. I thought it was fine. Yeah, it's like okay, so let's not reinvent the wheel. Go simple, and that makes it simple. Some of those other things that we have to talk about stuff like there's a welcome. Everybody has a name tag, and need to man that booth a little bit. Which isn't all. I mean, that's not the problem. It seems to actually shake hands to people. But those are some of the other little details that perhaps.
Well, that was one of the ones that I was hoping someone could help me with, but now we've got that covered.
So we'll talk about. Well, I think it's time. Any other discussion? Especially now that we got Regulo here, so back for his time. Regulo, the ball's yours, baby.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Regular from the planning department. So this is for a special use It's a new business that is moving to the industrial park. Name of the company is Jack's Inc. So the use has been classified for zoning purposes as a canning and packing business. So according to the regulate, the industrial park, it requires a special use. So the special use process has to go to the Plan Commission with a public hearing. We held a public hearing before the Plan Commission. No public comments. And the Plan with one change that I will go over that later. And then we have this meeting with the Economic Development Commission for a recommendation. And then finally we'll go to the Common Council for the decision. So staff does not have any issues with the use itself. I think it's appropriate for the industrial park. But the applicant is also proposing some additional improvements. Then also proposing some additional improvements. Then that staff is recommending some conditions of approval for the exterior improvement that they are proposing. Basically, they're proposing is an area for LP tanks. It's an area for LP tanks, 6 LP tanks, propane tanks, and 2 concrete pads for an equipment that they need that is called a filling unit. And this filling unit will be in like a shed structure. I think they have that in the packet. It's a picture of the shed structure. So what staff is recommending as condition of approval, that they will need to provide a landscape screening, also an improvement that they are doing, and the street to the east. So that is condition of approval number 7. You can see in the resolution that you have in your packet. It's a landscape screening between the exterior improvement and south features. And the revision that the Plan Commission made was to condition number 8, that the applicant shall provide some screening around the LP tanks, either a fence or a wall. So the Plan Commission said that it cannot be a solid wall or a fence, but it cannot be a chain link.
And why is that?
Visual.
Yeah,
Basically, aesthetics.
But if they had to expand, they take down let's say it was concrete one, they have.
Well, and the ordinance says that, chain links fence is not recommended unless the Economic Development Commission approves.
Okay. I was just curious. By the way, does anybody know what Jax? I was just curious. By the way, does anybody know what Jax does? I just looked it up. You guys do lubricants.
This plan is to do lubricants for food processing equipment.
Yeah.
Food grade lubricants, yep.
Yeah, so that would be something like, I guess, Pam. Is that sort of right?
I think it's lubricant for the machine.
For the machine.
Oh, is it
Food processing.
industrial? Okay, so the machine. Well, it says food grade lubricant.
But
Isn't it forefront of food and beverage plant lubricant? Okay. It's not like Pam. Thank you.
Machines.
Not edible.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's not toxic.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Just another note that the potential road access that is depicted on the cycle, that is not being approved with this. If they want to do that, they will need a separate application because they will need to provide some detailed plans for that drive.
And I know this isn't easy. Why did they select us?
I think it's the better location for that. They have another location. I think it's Menominee.
I also noticed they
Menominee Falls.
They were out of Michigan. Yes. I did notice that they were out of Michigan somewhere.
Oh no. Yeah, it's actually Menominee Falls.
On page 3 where the pictures are, this is what it's gonna look like? The bottom picture, is that gonna be, this process gonna be in a building, or is it gonna be
That would be
in a shed?
right in that shed. I mean, the filling unit will be inside that shed structure, similar to a shed.
Similar to that? Or is this existing?
It is a like a structure. That's why staff is recommending some landscape screening between the street and
Okay,
the
okay.
shed. Yeah.
That's what I'm curious.
So your recommendation is to approve?
Yes, with the condition on the resolution and with the other recommendation from the plan commission.
Anybody here have a problem?
From the plan commission.
Anybody here have a problem?
I'd be in favor of the solid wall rather than.
Yeah, I just want to get other people's understanding as to why, so, okay, that works for me too. Ready to vote?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor, say aye. Opposed? None? All in. There you go, you were persuasive as hell, baby.
Oh.
And not anybody had an objection, anything. Nice job. Bring it home. Okay. Just for the, EDC,
What's that?
how did we get these guys to come and decide to do this here? I mean, why?
Well, they're purchasing a building, so first of all, there was a building there that
Okay.
wanted.
But somebody had to go and say, hey, we have a building for you. Who was?
Whoever the broker was.
Yeah, broker, yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, let's duplicate it. I mean, they seem like a good fit for Franklin.
Especially the industrial park.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, I believe, success begets success. What are they doing? How do we get them? How do we do more of that? Would be the thought. So obviously our discussion earlier, which says, okay, now we got.
Who did before this?
I don't know.
Well, they called me like about 3 or 4 months ago. And
Okay.
I explained all the permitting process that I need to follow, and then later, a month later, they submit the application.
So it was Jack's called you directly?
Oh yeah, Kyle
Yeah.
Peter, that is the applicant. Yeah.
So just on their own, they found Franklin and said, process.
I will say so. Yeah.
I would think
Yeah.
they had probably a broker looking.
broker.
But I can check with them and see.
Well, but okay, if Peter called you directly, that's not the broker. Peter is the president.
The president. Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the previous?
Not the broker. Peter is the president.
The president. Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the previous owner that hired the broker?
I don't know. Yeah.
What's Peter's last name?
Peter.
Kyle
it's
Peter. Kyle Peter.
His number's 262-781-8850. 262-781-8850.
Since they're a global supplier, I suspect accessibility to the freeway
Wait, yeah.
and rail lines and maybe even the airport. They've made a nice difference.
Yeah, it's right on Ryan.
Well, call.
Okay.
Nicely. Good job.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be,
Go
should be
home
till
early.
9, yeah.
You got another meeting tonight?
No. Well, I was having one, but not anymore.
Yeah, right. Good. All right, replacement for Rob. It's the process for that. We have to do nominees and vote and that kind of stuff.
We just need to search of some sort.
The
however we wanna
applications
approach it.
are online, so we need to encourage people.
Okay.
He's the guy that was.
That's right, he's right, exactly, Jim is. But Rob, who was his company?
I think S.C. Johnson. I'm not positive.
You're right, because he was not in our, but he would, I think, lived here, but he
Yes.
didn't work
Yeah.
here.
Right.
There you go. Okay.
I'm just assuming that typically the nominee is an individual process.
Right.
So, people that you know of that you think would be good at it,
Yeah.
maybe,
Mhm.
urge them to apply. Let the rest of us know.
Gotcha.
What's Tim Wacker?
Every camp. Nice. Okay. Number 8, South Suburban Chamber of Commerce monthly update. I did not make it to any meetings this month. Anybody else here?
I went to the park, the meeting in the park that day. I went to the park, the meeting in the park that day.
Yeah, the Polish Center
Oh, no, I didn't make that. I was out of town.
after hours, so it was fairly well attended. I got there a little late, so probably John was there in the evening when I got there.
Great.
But yeah, other than that, I went to the Dental Associates breakfast.
Yeah.
That was extremely well attended. I don't ever recall that was at Dental Associates. That was in July, I think.
Okay.
I was
And they were the guys that were the presenters?
Yeah.
Okay.
very nice facility. They're going to be one of my recommendations.
Okay.
They
Fantastic.
were last year.
I don't know if they were the one at
Anderson.
27th Street.
Oh,
So they are very. I was just very impressed with the facility. Honestly, we're very welcoming. I think they're a good addition to the restaurant facility. Honestly, we're very welcoming. I think they're a good addition to the restaurant.
Gotcha.
We did have good attendance last week. Business after
Sorry, what?
hours. We did have good attendance last week at the business.
Restaurant.
Gotcha.
We did have good attendance last week. Business after
Sorry, what?
hours. We did have good attendance last week at the business
Yes,
after
we
hours.
did.
People were coming and leaving. So, crowd was actually more than what it even
The
looked
chamber is getting a lot more members now.
didn't they just have a golf outing?
No, that's coming.
It's coming
up.
That's coming up.
So, make a long story short, there's just, I think, to be honest with you though, just the whole change in economy after opening, and that's my people opening small businesses and working for themselves rather than working for corporations. And that's economy.
So to that point, as you say, more people, are we getting more Franklin people in the chamber? The other part is, it didn't seem like we had any big Franklin companies.
NML, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, NML, Crohn's, Marmalade.
Yeah.
They don't show.
No.
And that's so it's sort of like, okay, so we got business consumers talking, well, they would be interested in sort of a speaker kind of program. I'm going to talk like the Waukesha Business Alliance used to do once a month kind of program, that kind of deal. I talked to the mayor and he said, well, yeah, I mean, if the EDC wanted to do that, you could do something like different, though. It's different than the chamber kind of stuff where we'd have a Tracy, for instance, could be a speaker, those kinds of people that would be appealing to the larger businesses. And oh, by the way, then the smaller businesses too. I don't know. It means work, but I mean, I don't know. It means work, but I mean, on the other hand, if that would be a reason why companies come to Franklin or stay in Franklin, it's of interest. Because I do know that a number of, talk about the Waukesha Business Alliance, people do business. Talk about the Waukesha Business Alliance, people do business. They have a lot of big business part of that. And Oak Creek has a number in the chamber. Anyhow, I just throw that out there, which is, okay, how do we, because we're not getting the big one, chamber. I do think David Dahl and and I've talked, said, hey, Steve, you bring in his presenters, that kind of stuff. Well, let's do more than just, my vision would be, so how can we make this a bit bigger than just the, business consortium? Even there, he's looking for more members. He's got like about 19 players, got about 40 or 50 back there, and he's you know, since he's got his own, I'll call it, yeah, kind of,
Yeah.
just a little different. I know, I just throw it out there for us to consider, because I know you guys all know the, you know, business, you know, we've got 3 players who have gone on the board or led it or some kind of stuff from the chamber, but not chamber, but different.
Chamber is that the larger companies are members of the chamber because they see that as a community thing that
Yeah,
they need to do.
Right, yeah.
As Jerry would always say from Nucor in Oak Creek, nobody's going to buy my steel bars.
Right.
But I'm here because I want to support the
Yep.
other smaller businesses in the community. So, you know, in a sense, the large businesses don't really need the chamber for their networking, but they do want to be a good member of the community.
And thank you. But, yeah, at the Waukesha, they came because there was a value of hearing a speaker and the camaraderie of other big businesses.
Yeah, and the size of that
Yeah,
Waukesha group is, I mean, they have 9 people on staff.
not anymore.
It's-
They're down.
Probably, but they did have 9 people on staff
Yeah.
at one point. But you know, it's a whole different animal out there. So anyway,
I used to have a dozen people on staff in Boston.
Okay.
it does, yeah. So anyway,
I used to have a dozen people on staff in Boston.
Okay.
it does, yeah,
That was
Yeah, it's a matter of staffing.
yeah. Is the chamber still at
I'm not gonna sit here
part-time?
and put together you know, volunteer to put together speaker list of guys over. Volunteer to put together speaker list of guys over. Why would I? It's not benefiting my business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
You know, John's got time to put together that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna do it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't asking. It was just more. It's just more of a vision which says, you know, what is it that they're looking for to be participative in the community more?
Oh,
What would be of value to them, and then
But that's why they put together the consortium. Chamber wasn't underneath,
yeah,
so they put together the consortium.
Right.
I get that,
yeah,
but you underneath,
yeah,
so they put together the consortium.
Right.
I get that,
yeah.
but you need, you know, if you're going to meet their needs, if they want to expand and do more, practically you're going to have staff to do that.
Yeah. Now, okay. So, or the thought was, what does the economic development or helping bigger businesses
Well,
different than what the chamber does? That's all.
I agree, but from the EDC standpoint, you have us as volunteers and the full-time person. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, question would become whether he has time.
Where you could say, hey, can we put it together in a form and fashion where self-funding for additional manpower, that kind of stuff. And is that possible? Because you said, yeah, they had 8 people at the Waukesha Business Alliance. It's an adjunct to the city. Green Bay, it's an adjunct, and so it becomes Green Bay, it's an adjunct, and so it becomes self-funding, and they do a lot of stuff. So it's you know, let's not just say, oh, John, what could we do? Then we go back to this and say, hey, this is what we see as a possible. And or maybe we charge the members. What would it be worth to them? I just, you know, because I know that, what would it be worth to them? I just, you know, because I know that it's something David and I have talked about probably with the last days, that he would be.
Well, just as a piece of information, you know, David Dull has really been the mover and shaker
Yeah.
behind that group,
Yeah.
and he is retiring by the end of this year, and moving out of Franklin to Florida.
Is he?
Yes, he's
Okay.
my neighbor. That's why I know this, and he's
Yeah.
already sold his condo, and I'm not even sure where he's living right now. But anyway, so
Or was he living up there all the time? Or was he down in Chicago?
he was somewhere else until I'm not sure how many years ago he moved into Franklin.
Okay.
But anyway, they are going to be missing the person who really was the person who
Yeah.
made that
Thing
consortium
go.
happen.
Right.
So unless they find another leader who can do that, I kind of wonder what happened to them.
Unless we fill that void or some version of it.
If John Barbone,
Gotcha. Okay. That's our South Suburban update. Economic development update. Don, you got anything for us?
Well, I think pretty much the same as what we were seeing last time. Pretty much working with the folks, biomedical, plastics, food processing, and warehouse and multi-use projects that we were working with last month. So continue on. They haven't
Okay.
dropped out.
All right. Gotcha. Anything else? No, I don't know if you, that's one of the things I did throw out before, which we got Sitco. It's on the corner there of Loomis and Highway 100.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly. Oh, it's just, you know, it's not getting any better. Perhaps it's not getting any better. Perhaps just as a discussion as to what can be done.
I think we could try to tackle some of that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's just several projects that we've got that.
No, it's sort of like, well, I guess the question is, what can we even do? I don't know that we, I guess the question is, what can we even do? I don't know that we can do anything. See, maybe we can.
Well-
in my understanding, we can. I just don't know what it is.
I think to investigate what the potential with the landowners are and try to investigate what brainstorming that.
Well, we just spent $30,000 to get water rights.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem that there, should be something still done there.
I'm not arguing, my office is right now.
I know you are. You're right there.
I don't care for it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, yeah.
My opinion is, across the street, they're talking about apartment. But whether that goes through or not, I don't know. I think that did go through, that would then spur
Something.
development, because then you got some odd customers right across the street. So you get a go or something.
What is it? What are the uses that it's for? What are the?
It's going to be probably going to be general commercial business.
Well, right now, it just have a restaurant. Well, right now, it just have a restaurant and a gas station. And stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It would typical retail use, more of a general business.
One of
But I would have to pull that up on my lap.
the, I think it's under, but the mayor asked us to look at that TID construction, TID guidelines. Start creating.
yeah, right.
Are we going to be doing anything?
Right.
One of the things that's issue that needs five definition is whether residential property within the valuation did. That's a thought that's out there. Those are the kind of things that I think we should be aware of and know about and thinking about how we want to define our structure. Mayor asked us to do that, so I just want to see us hold on to that.
Right. Again, the thought was to
Yeah.
bring it back next month.
Okay.
But this month's stuff out of the way. Coming up on an hour and a half.
Gotcha.
Residential is come up and questions asked.
Gotcha.
We should
Gotcha.
have some thoughts on guidelines.
Our biggest takeaway out of today, only to send some notes here to, according to our category number.
And was the current for economics proposed, and that is basically the RISE incubation center facility. That lot is looked at to be added.
Okay.
Just as an
All right. Gotcha. Motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
What time is it?